This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. It's the morning stroke afternoon after. Delighted to be joined here in Las Vegas by Mr. David Haye. And to your word, which you promised me the other day, that you would, whether you were right or wrong, we would dissect last night's activities.
Yeah.
First of all, stunning performance from Tyson Fury. I feel like a bit of deja vu because, you know, you obviously said you were backing Deontay Wilder a couple of days ago. Was it a case of you got it wrong again or not?
Yeah, definitely got it wrong. I thought Wilder, now that he was coming in, both guns blazing, he's got his right hand back, that would be enough to take Fury out if the opportunity arose, which I knew at some stage it would. Nearly happened. He heavily put Fury down a couple of times. I think it was in the fourth round, and you know, to Tyson Fury's credit, he was able to shake him off and get back up and put it straight back on. Wilder, you know, he not only was it a great performance by Fury, he took Wilder's best, the biggest puncher I consider, the heaviest single punch in heavyweight probably ever with that right hand, and he took it clean in the forehead, and it shook him to his boots. The same thing, he took him with a short right hand round the side of the head. You know, that shot, the same shot's knocked out 41 people in the past, and Fury showed that he, as good as everyone thought his chin was prior to that fight, they've got to now say, okay, what more can he do to prove it against the biggest puncher, you know, biggest single puncher out there. So it was a great performance. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time, and it was a fight where both fighters showed up, did their very best, and we got a very, very clear, conclusive victor. And Fury, you know, there's nothing really more he could do now. But that performance for me shows he's number one. I thought in the first fight they had, the fact that he was so heavily put down, and in the second fight I kind of dismissed that second fight because I'm aware that, you know, Wilder wasn't, you know, he only had one arm in that fight, and it kind of showed in the third fight how much more he brought to the table. He looked very, very tired, Wilder, from early, you know, loading up on punches way too soon, you know, kind of a schoolboy error. But he's been able to not learn how to pace himself in fights because he's never needed to. Rewatch his fight with King Kong Ortiz, and you'll see that he just waits and waits and waits. This time he wasn't waiting, he was trying to force it, and when you force it, it doesn't work. But tough lesson to learn. Credit to Wilder. You know, a lot of people after that fight, because it was so conclusive, you know, a lot of people will write Wilder off, but he showed tremendous heart and balls to stay in there, and, you know, true to his word, he said he didn't want his corner, you know, breathing through the towel, and to save him for this day, which was a great day, and it appeared from everyone else's point of view to be the right thing, you know. And this time round, I'm pretty sure Maddox Scott was on strict instructions. No matter what happened to him in that fight, no matter how much of a beating he was taking, don't even pick up that towel to throw it, because, you know, I'd rather go out, you know, I'd rather die in the ring. He said that, and he proved it. He went out, he finished on the battlefield with no bullets left in his gun. He could not have done anything more. Credit to him.
David, let's talk about that a little bit, because we were talking off camera about this as well. Considering what happened with Mark Breland and Deontay Wilder from the second fight, and obviously Mark Breland not being involved as a result of his decision on the night. Now, Maddox Scott, we don't know this for definite, but we are assuming that there were kind of pre-fight in the camp talks that he was not to be pulled out under any circumstances. But as a trainer and your corner team, surely there is, regardless of what's being said, there is a basic duty of care to your fighter. How far do you push it where your head says to you, he's told me not to pull it out, but I have to do it. Like, where is the balance for that?
Technically, a fighter's corner isn't allowed to pull you out during a fight anyway. That's only the referee can kind of stop the fight, or the doctor can stop the fight. Your corner shouldn't really be able to stop it. And I've been stopped a couple of times in the same way against Carl Thompson. The towel came in against Tony Bellew. The second fight, the first fight, the towel came in. Shane McGowan threw the towel in, and on both occasions, at the time, I was like, "What are you doing?" Honestly, it's like it was a horrible feeling to be pulled out. I know what you'd rather go get stretched out than get pulled out, But as a coach, you need to, if you feel that there's unnecessary punishment, irreversible damage being done with fighters, there are fighters who die in the ring, and you wouldn't want that on your hands. Remember how Rocky Balboa felt when he didn't pull out Apollo Creed against Ivan Drago. He's got to live with that for the rest of his life, and no one wants that feeling on him.
There was a very hairy round for Tyson Fury in that, obviously being floored, and this was off the back of Fury flooring Wilder in the previous round. Dropped twice, took his time on both counts, especially the first one, to regroup himself. But I suppose people watching that kind of were thinking that this was kind of the moment where Wilder needs to kind of seize the initiative and finish the job, but couldn't do it in that round.
Yeah, he was able to land the big shot that he wasn't able to land in fight 2. He landed right down the middle of the right hand. He just unfortunately doesn't have the punch technique. He doesn't really put his punches together in combinations. It's normally just a big 1-2 down the pipe. Outside of that is not that much else. But they're not one trick pony, but the trick that the 1-2 has been his trick and has knocked pretty much everybody out with it. So outside of that, there wasn't much more. And to beat Fury, you need more than just a 1-2. You need to be able to do a lot of different things. You got to keep moving him. There's just so many different elements to put in a strategy to beat someone as sort of big and strong and elusive and well-rounded as Fury is. And Wilder, that was his chance. If he wasn't going to beat him on that after hurting as badly as he has, he will never beat him. He could fight him another 100 times, and that was his chance. I think maybe the first fight was his real chance. If he turned up for the first fight in the shape he turned up in this fight, with the strategy, the jab into the body, and what appeared like he was taking his time, versus rewatched the first fight, he was throwing punches from way out of range. But Fury has significantly improved since then. If he was ever going to beat him, it was going to be in that first fight, or knock him out, or in that round. I think it was the fourth round, also the third round or fourth round when he was heavily put down. But it was some real deep soul searching stuff. But when you're a fighter, you got to just roll with it.
Tyson Fury, after the fight last night, took offence. I think the whole team Fury took offence to the refusal of a handshake. Obviously, you've been in situations before where you've fought people that you've had murders with leading up to the fight. But should Wilder, I know it's heat at the moment as well, because obviously he's just coming off a devastating loss, but should Wilder have just kind of been the bigger man, but kind of after having 3 fights with someone, kind of just, kind of taken that opportunity to put everything to bed?
Yeah, it's easy to say, of course he should have done. But you don't know where Wilder's head's at. You don't know, there's so much ego, so much at stake for him. His whole life is at stake. He's just, Tyson Fury has literally taken his soul. And now Tyson Fury wants a handshake from him. I'm sure in his mind he's like, I'm not giving you anything else. You've taken everything. You've ruined me. And maybe he just I can't even give you my hand. I don't know what he said. I don't know how but and also he's taken a lot of punches to the head. You're not going to be coherent enough to maybe shaking someone's hand ain't that fucking complicated. But you don't know where someone's at emotionally. You don't know. You might have had a breakdown if he'd have shook his hand. Maybe the realization of that this man is just better than me. Maybe he just couldn't. He just doesn't ever want it to go to that point. I don't know, but it would have been nice for him to shake hands, embrace him, and say, yeah, you're the better man. You beat me tonight. You beat me last time out, and good luck in the future. But everyone's different.
Dave, I've got to ask you. Obviously, after I don't know whether to call it a return to the ring, but
an exhibition.
Your exhibition bout. You were kind of newsworthy headlines again by your very vocal call out of Tyson Fury. I haven't heard too much of you from that. I just wondered kind of where you are with that. Was that, because we've not really spoken, we've spoken obviously off camera, but was that a legitimate call out of Tyson Fury? Is this an actual thing? Because I know this stuff with John Fury is, a little bit of back and forth going on there with yourself and John, but you seemed like you were deadly serious when you called him out in that post-fight or post-exhibition, shall I say. So, yeah, how serious actually was that, or is that?
That's 100% serious. I said the only person I'd put my body through comeback for would be for the number one heavyweight on the planet. There's no reason why I'd punish myself and do what I need to do to put myself in a position to give myself any type of chance, if it isn't for the big one. And it doesn't get any bigger than that. I'd be like 1,000 to 1 underdog for good reason. And hopefully when Team Fury sort of crunch the numbers, when they're looking for this, something's going to happen in the next 2 months where they're going to be looking for an opponent. And I know how big time boxing works, and when he works out what money is generated with a haymaker fight versus any of the other options, although they may be on paper more respectable, he knows it's out there. I'm in the back of my mind, if it doesn't happen in the next year, then it might happen in 10 years' time. But that's the only fight. It was something that I didn't. It's a fight that did. There was 2 fights that didn't take place that I always wanted. It was Vitaly Klitschko and the fight with Tyson Fury. They're the 2 fights that I always wanted. I didn't realize how, at the time, Tyson Fury hadn't, was struggling with John McDermott and struggling with Steve Cunningham. So at the time, I didn't realize how important that victory would have been if it would have happened. Obviously now he's a few years on from those days, like 8, 9 years now. But it's definitely what someone needs to beat Tyson Fury hasn't been shown before. The little shades of him getting knocked down here and there, but he looks about as unbeatable as any heavyweight on the planet right now. He's taken the biggest shot from the biggest, heaviest puncher, Wilder, on the button and found a way to win. So how do you beat someone who's invincible? Maybe experience can find a way.
David, can you understand why people would look at this as a little bit bizarre and a little bit like, yeah?
If I was outside looking, I would go, yeah, whatever. There you go. That's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it. I know something that they don't, and I've needed this. I've needed a break. I had 3 years of doing nothing to do with boxing whatsoever, and I was not interested in doing anything to do with boxing until the opportunity to do this exhibition bout with Joe Fournier presented itself. So I thought, okay, it's a month to 5 weeks of prep. I was in shape, like as a healthy human being. I train every day, but not to any crazy extent. So not to any training, not to any real mad intensity, but by having those years off, which I've never ever had in my whole life. I've never had that much time where I haven't been really doing some crazy training and getting injured. It's kind of allowed me to see where I'm at now, and where I'm at now versus where I was 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago is a better place. So if it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. If it's not, I'm cool. I'm generally cool. But I'm just saying, there's going to be a time where they're going to need an opponent. And ideally, if you want an opponent, you want an opponent that makes the most money out of all of the fights. So, FYI, the Haymaker's in the gym.
If we're to kind of just remove you out of this equation for 1 second, I'm just saying, okay, because I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying Fury's options at the moment. I know what you're saying, because it's like now this trilogy is kind of done with. The Joshua fight is obviously, he has his rematch with Alexander Usyk. So those are out of the way. So there's the situation regarding Dillian White, who will be the mandatory challenger should he come through his fight with Otto Wallin.
Or just so you know, Otto Wallin is significantly better, younger, fresher, more awkward than Alexander Povetkin. Just so you know. Okay. FYI. He's a lot better. So,
so in a nutshell, what you're saying?
That fight isn't a foregone conclusion. On paper, White should win it easily, kind of. But he's a big southpaw, a big, strong southpaw, and it's going to be probably the second toughest fight White's been in outside of Joshua. I think this is the second best opponent he's fought outside of Anthony Joshua. So I'm sure he knows that anyway. He's a smart guy. He gets it. So it's not a foregone conclusion. Just saying.
Okay. Just finally, what next for Wilder? What do you think Wilder will do now?
I don't know. I really don't know what he can do, you know.
Still be in big fights.
He can be in big fights, but does he want to be just in big fights? What's the point in just being in big fights? He's been heavyweight champ, 10 heavyweight title defenses. He earned loads of money for these fights. What is he fighting for? If he knows he can't beat that guy and nobody wants to see a full fight, he's lost two conclusively. The best he could get was a draw when Fury had been out of the ring for God knows how many years and completely ring rusty, and the best he could do on that night is get a draw. You know, outside that, if Fury is going to be the flag bearer for the heavyweight division, Wilder's only interested in being number one. He doesn't want to be number two. We'll fight for some intercontinental title. You know, he's either got to try and find a way back to a rematch with Fury, or wait until Fury retires and then try to do something.
Well, the heavyweight scene is thriving as ever. Obviously, it's taken a turn because of Alexander Usyk's win over Anthony Joshua. But yeah, it's exciting. So whether or not you are in this equation in the next few months is yet to be seen. David Haye, thank you very much for sticking to your word. Because a load of people tweeted me today when I bet Haye don't do the interview today. I said, well, of course he will. What if he said something and it didn't turn out how he did? He'll back it.
I don't follow the general narrative to what everybody says. Everyone always says, I just say it as I see it, and you know they say a broken clock's right twice a day. Recently, I ain't been right once, but I make my decisions what I personally think, not what everyone else is saying, and yeah. So when I'm right, I'm right. When I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't hide from my predictions or my thoughts. I mean, I tell you exactly why it is I think this, and you can see that's my trailer of thought and why I tally it up the way I do. And you know, if Wilder would have been able to land another 5 or 6 shots in that round, and Fury wasn't able to get up, you know, it would have made sense. You know, the right hand was back. The right hand was there. That wasn't in the second fight. That was my argument for this. My argument for the third fight was Wilder didn't have the right hand in the second fight, and he did now, and that wasn't enough. He needs more. To beat Fury, you need more than one right hand down the pipe. You need a lot more.
Okay, David, appreciate your time today. Yeah, I'm assuming you're around in the US for a little while.
I'm around.
Well, appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and we'll definitely catch up soon. And if you've got anything to share with us at any point regarding your future, then let us know.
I'm staying healthy. I'm excited. You know, it's nice to see, and it's about as undisputed as. There's no disputing that Fury is number one now. You know, you've got Usyk with the titles he got from Anthony Joshua, but they're redoing that again, and you know, you can't compare Usyk's one fight and one win, or sorry, his fight against Derek Chisora and AJ as better than what, you know, Fury's done in his heavyweight campaign. So I'm definitely, you know, I didn't think that, you know, Fury would be able to perform like he did. Whether that was with because, you know, I thought Wilder had more than that. I know he's got more than what he showed, but if you can't show it in a fight, it's irrelevant. You know, I sing great in the shower, but stick a microphone in front of me, I'm not selling any records. So just because someone has the potential doesn't mean you can't tally up someone's potential. You know, you're only as good as what you prove in the ring when the lights are on. And Fury has proven without a shadow of a doubt that he's number one.
David, thank you very much. We'll definitely catch up with you again soon.